Welcome to Financial Clarity, the podcast dedicated to helping service-based small business owners achieve financial success. Join us as we demystify financial concepts, get practical tips from seasoned entrepreneurs, and discover strategies to increase profit and value. Hannah Smolinski here. I'm the host of the Financial Clarity Show, where I connect successful entrepreneurs, financial experts, and leaders in the small business sphere. I am here with my guest, Louise Brogan. But before we go into that, I'm going to read a sponsorship message from our sponsor today, which is actually my company. Today's message is brought to you by Clara CFO Group. Clara CFO is dedicated to providing financial clarity and profit maximizing solutions to small businesses. The team at Clara CFO is comprised of seasoned accounting professionals with a heart for small business, and we help growth-minded entrepreneurs thrive through fractional CFO services and financial education. Whether you're grappling with hiring decisions, profit margin concerns, or you just have ambitious growth plans, Clara CFO provides insights, recommendations, and a clear financial roadmap to achieve your goals. To learn more about Clara CFO Group and how we can help your business, visit claracfo.com. So, Louise and I met each other. Actually, I want to mention how we met. We met through Natalie Ekdahl and her company BizChicks. So she created this amazing online community of female entrepreneurs, and it was online for a long time. And then she created an in-person opportunity for people to actually meet through a conference. So I had the pleasure of meeting Louise through the BizChicks conference, and then we've just stayed connected since then. So I want to just first give a big shout out to Natalie. Thank you to her for creating the community. I made amazing relationships, and Louise is one of them. And so if you're interested in Natalie and her, she has a podcast called BizChicks, and you can also check out her website at bizchicks.com. So welcome to the podcast, Louise Brogan.
Thank you.
Yeah, really excited to have you here today. Louise is a LinkedIn consultant, podcaster, and YouTuber who runs her own boutique LinkedIn marketing agency for professional services clients across the UK, Europe, and North America. Yay. Louise is a small business champion for the UK and loves supporting other women in business. Fun fact, Louise was actually invited to Buckingham Palace to meet King Charles in 2022 as a result of her working with small businesses in the UK. Louise, what an amazing opportunity, first of all. What was that like? What'd you do when you meet
There's the picture right behind me.
I love it. What do you do when you meet a king?
It was amazing. I didn't expect to meet him. There's 400 people invited. So first of all, Hannah, thanks for inviting me on your podcast. Just to quickly tell you about the Buckingham Palace event, I got an email initially from his office, his team in his office. And I didn't believe it was real.
Right.
So I went to LinkedIn and looked up the person who sent it to me. And they were connected to somebody who I had actually met before in London. And I reached out to her and I said, do you know this person? Is this like a real person? It's really funny because I met her then afterwards. I actually met her in the House of Lords, hilariously. And she thought this was the funniest thing ever, that I was doubting that this invitation was real.
Right.
So anyway, it was real. And it was followed up by this beautiful cream embossed invitation in the post, which I framed and have on the wall behind me as well.
Yes.
But being a fact finder, I wanted to know exactly what was I going to. So I could see that they host receptions at Buckingham Palace for people from business and community areas, different things. And there's usually 400 people invited. So I thought, okay, 400 people, it's going to be a lot of people. I'm sure there'll be other people there that I know. It was all to do with small business. I knew one other person going. And so brilliant. I turned up at Buckingham Palace with my invite, and she was right in front of me in the queue. So I was like, So we walked in together. And there's loads of little things I found out afterwards. I had a ticket to park my car inside Buckingham Palace, which is crazy. But I didn't have a car because I live in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and that's across the sea from London.
Right.
England, Scotland, Wales are in one island, and Northern Ireland and Ireland are in a different island, in case people don't know that. So anyway, I couldn't drive my car into Buckingham Palace, but imagine doing that. That would be so fun. So we went inside and you had to hand everything in, including your phone. They gave us little gold plastic bags to put our phones into that say Buckingham Palace on them. And I kept buying. It's just all these little things. Anyway, went upstairs and they were giving people name tags. And I went over to, they're all alphabetical. I went over to the table with B on it and they couldn't find my name tag. And I thought, oh, knew this was a mistake. Like, I knew I wasn't supposed to be here. And the lady was like, oh, I'm not sure where your name tag is. Let me just get my colleague. And she got her colleague. And her colleague comes over and says, oh, no, you're coming with me over here. And it was with my friend. And basically, we were taken through the big room with all the other people in it to a little room at the back. I say a little room, like it's a room inside Buckingham Palace. It was ornate and gorgeous. And it's like the state rooms, I think they're called. Anyway, there was 10 of us selected to meet the king out of all the 400 people. And I was one of them. And most of the rest of them, Hannah, were like household names.
Oh, wow.
Like people of our equivalent of Shark Tank, so Dragon's Den.
Right.
People who are regularly on television talking about small business and,
Amazing.
you know, they're retail champions and they're quoted in the newspapers. And then there's me. And it was amazing. He was so lovely, so friendly. Nobody curtsied. Nobody even dreamt of asking us to curtsy or bow or any of that nonsense.
Right.
We shook hands. He asked me about my business. I told him I was from Northern Ireland because I knew that most people there wouldn't be from Northern Ireland.
Right.
Because there's only 1.5 million of us. And he said, oh, that's nice. There's a lot of you here tonight, because he just met somebody from Northern Ireland who was actually the Minister for the Economy from Northern Ireland, was in the lineup as well. And then I met Prince Edward, and then I met 2 dukes who were the king's cousins. And then it was over really quickly. And then they gave us all champagne and we kind of like were spun out into the main room. And then we had 2 hours of champagne, canapes, networking with these people. And it was amazing and it was surreal. And I came out at the end with my phone. And it was pouring with rain. And I rang my mum and my sisters and my husband. I was literally just, you know, screaming down the phone. So anyway, It was fabulous. What an experience. Can't imagine I'll ever have anything like that again. So
yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, what a story. I love it so much. And, you know, once in a lifetime opportunity. I mean,
yeah,
maybe,
so.
I don't know. You could be, invited the next time when you're the TV personality or the household name that you're talking about. Which I think might happen because you are quite a specialist at this point in LinkedIn. So I'd love to hear and explain kind of what you're doing now. We mentioned that you're a LinkedIn consultant, but how did you get there and what is your business currently?
Oh my goodness. So I actually did a geography degree at university and then couldn't really get a job that I enjoyed doing. So I did a conversion course into IT and computing. And I worked for 10 years as an IT project manager. And when I had my children, I wanted to work part-time around the kids. And I was always ambitious. And to cut a long story short, my career was I couldn't go any higher in my job unless I went full-time, which is not technically legal. But that was the scenario presented to me. And I thought, right, I need to do something else then. So I started running social media accounts for local small businesses. That's where I started. And I did Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, even did Pinterest, I think, at one stage. And it went really well. I didn't like Hannah, the amount of money I got paid was a pittance.
Yeah.
For what I was doing. So I've come a long way since then. But I actually was a Facebook and Instagram accredited trainer in the UK. And I remember I started to work with various coaches and I started to work with biz chicks. And I remember Natalie said to me, you know, do you ever think about niching down into one platform? And I thought about it and I thought, well, I'm a specialist in Facebook and Instagram and I have access to Facebook and Instagram. They take me to their offices and show me, you know, the latest and the greatest content and training and everything. But actually, when I go to LinkedIn, I get business far faster than I do from spending time on those other platforms. And back then, we're talking about 5 or 6 years ago now, at least, there were very few people who were specialists in LinkedIn. So it was kind of an easy one to pick. I think with my techie background as well, I love figuring out what works and what doesn't in terms of software and technology, not just in terms of words and images and stuff. So I thought, well, let's try focusing a bit more on LinkedIn. I became the Social Media Examiner's official contributing writer for LinkedIn. So I wrote about 8 or 9 really detailed, long blog posts for them over a year or two. I pushed my podcast to be all about LinkedIn, my YouTube channel, which I started during the pandemic for fun. I thought I'll do that on LinkedIn, and it's been the best thing ever. So when you focus in on one thing, it's easier to know everything about it than to try and keep up with all the changes. Like today, literally as we're recording this, Instagram and Facebook have launched Threads, which is a rival to Twitter. Well, imagine like trying to get to grips with another, like TikTok and all these other, Snapchat and everything. So
Right.
it's much easier to stick to one. And that's what I do. And also the clients who want help with LinkedIn tend to be more in the B2B space, and therefore have relatively good budget for outsourcing their LinkedIn.
Yeah,
content.
and that's a really good point, because, you can potentially have more consistent clients, ones that, are, they're there for building their businesses too, I imagine.
Yes.
Where it feels like Facebook and Instagram sometimes are more really about like vanity metrics, like building numbers, and it's less about like quality, and it's kind of more quantity, I would think.
And I think as well, people who are really serious about building a platform on one of those channels might be more in the kind of influencer sphere. I know that's a bit of a broad brush, but companies and corporates are interested in LinkedIn. And I find them easy to work with. Maybe it's because before I left my job, I was a software engineer. I worked in corporate for about 10, 11 years, and I'm very comfortable in that space. So I'm very comfortable with these clients as well. So
Yeah,
I think it's a bit of a different vibe on the other platforms now.
definitely. So when you say B2B, are those typically service businesses, or are they, bigger, larger corporations that might be like product-based businesses? Like tell us a little bit about your
Yes.
main clients.
So the people we work with tend to be service-based businesses. In fact, all of my retainer clients or people who work with us on an ongoing basis are all service-based businesses. However, they are across the board in terms of the services they provide. We have clients who are in diversity and inclusion, clients who are in commercial signage, clients who are in healthcare, technology. And I actually, I know you're supposed to really pick a niche industry, but actually I like the mix and working across different industries. It's just, I like learning what people are doing.
Yeah.
But definitely product-based businesses definitely can find their market on LinkedIn as well. And the funny thing about LinkedIn, it being a bit more of a techie platform, what LinkedIn call a product is a software product. So they announced LinkedIn product pages must have been at the start of the pandemic. This is, we are releasing LinkedIn product pages. And people are like, oh, you can put your products on LinkedIn now, like as if you could sell them like on Instagram. And I'm like, no, they mean software products. Because that's the background that LinkedIn have. They're owned by Microsoft. They are
I
a
was going to say,
software
it's Microsoft, right? That they're
So so absolutely people can go on there if they have product-based businesses, but we tend to work with service-based businesses.
Yeah, like a product page. Like I have a client that has like a couple different, like they're a consulting agency, but they've developed internal software products. So they have
Yes.
individual product pages to talk about like, okay, this product does this product
Yes.
does that. So, but it can be like it can be underneath your main company page, right?
Yes. An example, if people want to go and look at that on LinkedIn, one example I use regularly in training is Asana.
Oh yeah.
Asana is a software product. If you go to their company page, you can see demos of their product on the product page of their company page.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, that works really well when you have like kind of a couple different like brands underneath the company too.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So I'm a small business CFO. We talk about marketing a lot in conversations with clients because a lot of people are looking to grow their businesses right now and they're trying to decide where to invest. And I imagine that you probably have these conversations a lot with business owners. Why do you think people should invest in LinkedIn? Why is that a place that they would at least should consider if they haven't before?
There's lots of reasons, but if we start with a broad reason, LinkedIn, people post content on LinkedIn daily. Every single day, fresh content goes on LinkedIn, which means that search engines love it. So if you go to Google, let's use Google for this conversation. If I went to Google and I'm looking for a mortgage advisor, or I'm looking for let's say, I don't know, some kind of consultancy work, or I'm looking for a medical writing company, and I type that into Google, LinkedIn often comes up in the very top results of Google because, again, going back to the whole tech background, when you have a website with lots and lots of fresh content, and LinkedIn is a website, that Google loves that. So it tends to show those results at the top. And that's also actually why I always get asked, should you have personal profiles and company pages? Now, the companies we're working with, they're at least 5 to 10 people usually in the company. So they have a company page. But actually having a company page that describes your products and services on there is going to really help you get found through search engines. People do search on LinkedIn as well, but most of us still use Google for searching for things. And if you have a good presence on LinkedIn, then you can come up in those search results. But also, LinkedIn is the social media platform for people who work in corporate in the main. So not everybody uses social media, but most people have a social media platform that they like. And CEOs and senior executives of companies that you might want to get your services in front of, they go to LinkedIn in their downtime. So whereas other people might be scrolling through Instagram when they're waiting for their train home, or, they're waiting for their dinner to cook or whatever. Other people go to LinkedIn to scroll. And most people, Hannah, only scroll on LinkedIn. They lurk or they scroll, they don't post.
Right.
So if you are, what we do with our clients is we write content that helps the reader understand what the clients do and how that helps them. So if you are, for example, you're looking for, maybe you run a large corporation, and at your last board meeting, someone says, we really need to get somebody in here to talk to our directors about diversity and inclusion. And you're on LinkedIn that evening and you're just scrolling through, and then you see this article saying 7 reasons why you need a refresh of your diversity and inclusion training. And it's on your LinkedIn. People tend to trust content that they see on LinkedIn because it is that professional platform. And if you are creating content on there that talks about what you do and it helps the audience, people then check out your profile. Hopefully you've optimized your profile. It tells people what you do. And they might just, at that stage, they might just follow you. And in fact, most people follow you for a while before they ever actually message you about anything on LinkedIn. Or maybe you've had your board meeting, you come out of the board meeting and you're walking down the hallway to go and grab a coffee with your colleague. And you say, yeah, that meeting was a bit intense. They said we need to update our D&I policies. And that person says, oh, follow this person on LinkedIn. You should talk to her. She talks about diversity and inclusion all the time. And that's literally how you get business from LinkedIn.
Right.
So should people be investing in LinkedIn? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Having your core, what we do, how we help people type content on there is helping you get found and helping people refer others to you.
Mm. That's what I found as well. I had my first client come through LinkedIn, which I mean, I have a much larger presence on YouTube, than LinkedIn. But she was a marketing person, and she was probably on LinkedIn because she's on LinkedIn for her clients and things. And that's the first place she went to look when she needed CFO services. So she found our name and reached out. So I think it's definitely makes sense, especially in professional services. But like you said, lots of other industries as well, not just this kind of professional space. So what would you say is something that people are missing a lot of times? Maybe they're doing LinkedIn, quote unquote, but they're, either wasting their time, or you see they're kind of spinning their wheels. Do you see any kind of big misses?
Yes. So most people that I work with, so I do a lot of training, which I personally deliver, and I love doing LinkedIn training workshops with virtually and in person. And a lot of people have profiles there that they created a long time ago, haven't really updated it yet. And there's a lot of changes to LinkedIn profiles. So making sure you have a good headline, an about summary that explains to people how you can help them, and having your skills up to date is really key. That's all. It's really changed a lot. If you haven't looked at it recently in the last 6 months, it's really changed how they're doing that. You put your key skills into your about section and stuff like that. But what people are doing is they have a profile, they might have a company page. Their boss has said, right, we need to do something about LinkedIn. There's lots of content on our company page. Can you all share it? And they literally repost the company page content, and that's it. And it's really funny because I check out people on LinkedIn. That's another reason why people should be actually making sure that they have a presence on there, because whether people find me on YouTube and then they go to LinkedIn to see, am I who I say I am? And that happens a lot. But recently there's been a couple of people, and I've heard them on podcasts, or I've seen something, they've written something. I've gone to check out their content, and it's just repost. Louise reposted this. Louise reposted this. Louise reposted this. So no one really engages with a repost because there's nothing to engage with. You haven't said why you're sharing it. And that's a really simple little tweak. So if your boss says you need to all share our content from LinkedIn, the marketing team are working really hard on it, or we've outsourced to Louise Brogan, so my money's worth out of this. Instead of just reposting it, why not say something about what you are sharing to your network, so that your network has something to respond to?
Right.
That's a core missing piece. The other thing that's a really easy win, if people are like, well, I don't know what to say on LinkedIn, Louise, or I don't know what to write, is literally just start commenting on other people's posts, so that people in their network as well as yours can see you're active on LinkedIn, but also they see your name and your headline. And when people see your headline, that's the bit that's it's your job title until you update it and it becomes your headline. If it's of interest to that person, they click on your name to go and find out more about you and to view your profile. But most people just hop on, scroll, alert, click the like button, and then move on. The very most, they might repost something. So they're missing a big opportunity to get found by ideal clients, I think.
Yes. And as you're saying that, I'm going, I need to update all of my stuff. Yes. So I might be calling you after this, but yes, I imagine that, that kind of I need to do LinkedIn happens, and then they go and they might spend some time on it, and then it kind of never gets revisited. And that concept of reposting too, that feels very much it seems, and this is my problem with social media in general, is it's noise, and it's not bringing a lot of thought to a platform. It's not
or value
a conversation. It's not bringing a value. I mean, even if you're sharing a valuable article, like share a valuable article and maybe pick out like, what did you find was like, this was eye-opening to me. Maybe it can be eye-opening to you too.
Yes.
Like do something that actually gets people's minds churning, right?
Yes. It's about starting a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So you find an article, and I love it when clients come to us and say, Louise, there's this article in the Harvard Business Review, and I really liked it. And I'll say, well, what did you like about it? What was the key thing you liked about it? And they'll tell me, right, brilliant. That's a brilliant post. Let's use that for our next piece of content. But interestingly, Hannah, the editor-in-chief of LinkedIn, Daniel Roth, and his head of product, just last week announced that they are changing the algorithm because they want LinkedIn to be a better experience for people. And they are kind of fed up of all the selfie posts that have gone on there. They actually said it's a bit too Facebooky. So I want to tell you the 4 key things they suggested that people are doing, or that you're going to get rewarded for. Sorry. So number 1, write for a distinct audience. So who are you actually on there to connect with? I think that's so valuable. Like I want to connect with people who want to know more about how to use LinkedIn in the B2B space. So that's who I am writing for.
Yeah. Not just everybody.
Not just everybody. Yeah.
Always.
Stick to your core subject. What do you want to be known for? You want to be known for CFO services for small businesses. So don't go on LinkedIn and talk about, how rainy it was in Ireland when you visited last week. So stick to your core subjects. They said they are going to reward posts that have meaningful comments underneath them. So this is where, I don't know if you've come across this, Hannah, but there are a lot of LinkedIn engagement pods, PODS, where people have got together in little LinkedIn messaging groups or WhatsApp groups, even worse. And every day, apparently they're timed. Somebody replied to me about this on YouTube and said, oh yes, I was in one. And you had to put your post in there by 8:15 in the morning. And then you had to go and comment on everybody else's posts in the group. Ugh. Yeah. So they're clamping down on that. And one way is they want to reward meaningful comments, by which means if I wrote a post and asked a question, that people are responding underneath with actual sentences, not just, well done, what's up, thank you.
Yeah.
That's what they see as meaningful comments. So how they're going to measure this, I have no idea. And then the 4th thing they want to reward posts that have perspective. So yes, you will still see somebody posting from their holiday villa in Spain, but it's going to be a post that says, maybe the perspective is that they've worked really hard, they hit a target in business, and now they're taking a week off to relax for their mental health. So, so it's still relatable to your professional/small business life. But it's not just posting a picture of yourself at your villa in Spain for the sake of it. So I thought that was really interesting that they're trying to almost like take LinkedIn back a little bit to how it was before everybody came onto it during the pandemic. And then whenever Elon Musk bought Twitter, loads more people came onto LinkedIn who maybe weren't necessarily used to the way that LinkedIn posts are, according to LinkedIn, supposed to be. So those are good. I think those are good 4 things to follow. So distinct audience, core subject, aim for meaningful comments, and does your post actually give a perspective on something for people?
Yeah. Which I think aligns with, your comment about like, don't just repost. Like a repost is never going to like bring out a meaningful comment to somebody. Like, it's got to probably have something that's like an engagement, and even like offering a perspective. You might get a meaningful comment with someone who being like, well, I disagree, or I have this thought on your thought, which goes back to this, that, we want to have meaningful engagement. And I think like, we're all busy professionals, and I think like the audience on LinkedIn is busy professionals, and it's, people who are working hard in their jobs or their businesses. And like, if we want to go there, it needs to be providing something to us.
Yes.
At the end of the day. like something that's engaging?
Yeah, so I actually spoke to somebody yesterday on an interview, and she said that one of the three reasons she goes to LinkedIn, one was about building connections and community, but one was to learn. She goes to LinkedIn to learn and see what's happening within her industry. And I always miss that step because I like learning through podcasts. So I suppose everyone has different learning styles. But I thought that was a really interesting angle that I hadn't necessarily thought about, that people go to LinkedIn because they want to keep up to date with what's going on in their industry and in their world. And, there's this whole thing on social media about how we're in silos where, everyone who supports the same political party as you is your Facebook friend. So you never see outside of this silo. But I think LinkedIn are saying, if you work in medical technology and you build a community around you, you're all talking about what's happening within your industry in medical technology. I think they're saying that's a good thing, because you're going there to build relationships for your career, which is really what LinkedIn is supposed to be about in the first place.
That's interesting, because I have noticed that my feed has become so many fractional CFOs, because I connect with other fractional CFOs and, we're learning from each other. They're watching my stuff. I'm learning from them. But then I'm like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? But I mean, I read their posts because I'm like, yeah, like I agree with that. Or like, that's an interesting perspective, or I have never seen that book before. Like now I want to go read it, all of that stuff can be really helpful. That's great. What do you think? Okay. One of my biggest problems with LinkedIn right now is all the spam. Just the like people being like, I want to connect. I want to connect. I want to connect. What's your take on connecting with random people who you've never, you have no idea why they want to connect, but they want to connect with you? What's your personal philosophy on that?
So my golden rule is that when I connect, I send a message so it's not random and weird. And they're like, who the heck is this person? And I really try and encourage everyone to try and do that. So you say, oh, I heard you on Hannah's podcast. That's why I want to connect. And I'm like, oh, right, great. So honestly, Hannah, it's usually a gut instinct based on their headline. And if I can't tell what they do from their headline, I'll click on their profile and I'll see, is this person, could they be somebody I'm going to be interested in what they have to say about whatever topic they're talking about. So there's certain topics that I'm interested in. There's certain I've no interest in whatsoever. So will they be sharing content that I'll be interested in? Are they a potential client? Or do they also serve the same clients that I serve? And that's where, if your network is full of CFOs and you're all engaging with each other, which is brilliant because it means that you're being active and you see LinkedIn as a tool to get clients. As long as there are people in your network who are potential clients, your activity on LinkedIn will be seen by those people. So I like to connect with what I call strategic partners. They don't know that they're strategic partners, by the way, but I know that my clients also hire these other people. So you're a perfect example of that. The people who outsource their LinkedIn to us are highly likely to also be outsourcing their CFO role, because they're big enough that they have the budget and the need for those roles, but they're not global businesses who have all of that in-house. So I connect strategically with people and then comment on those people's posts. As long as their posts are interesting. I mean, I don't just comment because I think, oh yes, I want all of Hannah's clients to see my name here. If the post is interesting and I want to reply to it, then I do. But I definitely want to build a network of value that runs both ways, that I can give value to those people and that their content is valuable to me and they are potential leads for business, because that's why we're on LinkedIn in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, if you're happy with what you have and it's always going to stay that way and you never have to do any additional business development, then why kind of waste your time with doing marketing?
Yeah.
So,
Who is that
um,
person?
yeah, I mean, but the truth is that the business development is a continual process. And yes, you can come to LinkedIn to learn for yourself and grow yourself personally, but then it's also usually some amount of business growth as well. Um, that is really good. And yeah, I would absolutely agree. Like our relationship, it's like we will never be competitors because we don't do the same thing, but we serve similar clients. And some of my clients have gone to you. And I imagine that will probably be, crossing over many more times in the future as well. Um, so one more question, just kind of about LinkedIn on, do you have any kind of metrics or anything that you help your clients determine their return on investment? You guys ever
Oh,
like
that's a
have
good
anything like
question.
that?
Yeah. So we do provide monthly reports for our clients.
Hmm.
And in general, if we have green lights on things, I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn is hard to get comments on,
Mm-hmm.
especially company pages, because most people, as I said earlier, are scrolling or clicking likes, and it's tough to get people to comment on LinkedIn. And somebody asked me this the other day, said, "How do you measure success on LinkedIn?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Well, it's are people reaching out to you for work?" So most of the time, I hear about it from my clients
Mm-hmm.
who will say, "Oh, Louise, we have a monthly check-in with our clients."
Mm-hmm.
And I'll hear them say, "Oh, yes, I went to this business networking event and lots of people commented on our LinkedIn activity, actually." And they say we're really visible on there. One of my clients said, "Oh, she got a client who had worked with them previously, had come back 8 years later because they'd seen the content on the LinkedIn and they kind of had forgotten about them."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, happy days. And they got a big contract off them. Another client, we send out a monthly newsletter for our clients through LinkedIn's newsletter facility. And that client, she's in Dublin actually. Her company those newsletters have been picked up and put onto Accountancy Ireland's website at least twice.
Amazing.
And she's got direct leads from those. So yes, there are the metrics that LinkedIn will give us that
Mm-hmm.
says, you've got this many percentage people are reading your content, and these are your comments, et cetera, et cetera. But I tend to take the measurements in, are we actually winning business for our clients?
Yeah.
When they go to conferences and events, people are walking up to them and saying, "Yeah, we follow you on LinkedIn."
Mm-hmm.
And it's turning into business conversations. So
Yeah.
I probably need to get an analytics person in my team who loves this kind of stuff. I just like hearing my clients get wins from our
Yeah.
work.
Well, and it depends on the size of your potential win of that. Because we talk about like average lifetime value of a client,
Yeah.
where, let's say you have, I mean, you could be in a situation, we have clients that win multi-million-dollar contracts with like one good lead, and
Yes.
then we have other clients that might win, maybe a client is $100,000 lifetime because they work with them for over 5 years or something like that. But it's like, $2,000 a month or something. So thinking about that when you're thinking about investing, like what would a win look like? I think is really like, if you're looking at LinkedIn, does that make sense? And then financially, what could you potentially like get out of it? So,
Yeah.
good things to think about. I'm going to turn the tables a little bit on you
Okay.
and ask about your business. So you've given us all this amazing information about LinkedIn, but you yourself are also a successful agency owner. And I think part of this podcast is we want to kind of like crack open like the secrets of like the success for agencies and small businesses as they're growing. So I have just kind of like a couple questions. Just, first of all, you started growing your agency when? When was that?
Oh, goodness. Not that long ago. I would say 2 years ago, I started offering retainer services, and I had a couple of people who signed up to
Mm,
work with me. But I was doing all of that work, and then I thought, right, let's explore this whole thing about building a team.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I've had a writer working with me for 2 years. Lauren, she's brilliant. She's in England. But I hired my first employee a year ago.
Nice.
And now we have a team of 6 plus me. So I have 3 writers, 2 account managers, a graphic designer, and myself. And everybody except for Lauren has been with me for just a year or less. So it's not that old, actually, the agency side of
Yeah.
things.
I mean, that's a really impressive growth too, for like starting so quickly and having already a team of 6. Like
Yeah.
I mean, you should be really proud of that. What is like that next hire that you're like, ooh, if I were, what does the next thing look like for you?
Oh, so I'm a quick start is my number one in the
What is that? That's the Colby, right?
The
The Colby
Colby, yeah.
assessment, right?
So I have 100 ideas a day. This one I've been thinking of this one for 2 years, and it's time to do it. So we at the minute, what we do is we write all the content and create the graphics and do the newsletter for our clients on LinkedIn. And those newsletters are repurposed as blogs on their website. So it's yes, it's LinkedIn focused, but they can also use that as a blog on their website, a monthly blog, which clients really love. But one thing I've been toying with for a long time, and it's going to be my next investment, is to create podcast and video content for those clients for LinkedIn. So LinkedIn newsletters, you can embed your podcast into the newsletter. And I have had a podcast for 5 years. I love podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. The people that we work with fit into they like podcasts too. They like the concept of podcasts. And I've literally started floating this idea with my clients. But if we had, let's pick let's pretend I'm the client. So, okay, Louise, you run a LinkedIn marketing agency. What are your core themes and topics you want to be known for? Okay, well, maybe LinkedIn company pages. Okay, so if we do a podcast on LinkedIn company pages, we're going to interview you and ask and pull out everything about LinkedIn company pages. Then my podcast editor in my team is going to take that, turn it into a podcast, and push it out. But then we're going to take the transcript and chop that up into posts so that it actually flows really nicely for the whole theme of the content on the company page for that month. And then take the transcript and either use that as a basis for the newsletter or publish it as a transcript on a blog. Probably I would edit the words. And if the client is up for it, and not everybody is, Hannah, I'm sure you know this, if they're up for the video being recorded as well as the audio, then why not put it up on a YouTube channel as well? So you're covering audio, video, and content, but all around the core topic that we will be using for the LinkedIn content. So that is my goal. I'm speaking to somebody, a content editor, in the next week or so. I actually have somebody on my team who is a podcast editor. Yeah, so all my team are, none of them are full time, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them have other things that they do. And one of them, she runs a podcast editing business. I'm like, oh, this is like being sent to me. I've been talking about doing this for like 2 years. I'm like, hello, you've got a podcast editor in your team. So that's the next move for us.
I love that. And it's like adding another revenue stream into the business, and then also kind of like providing that extra level of value to your clients who might have wanted to do a podcast, but it seems a little too daunting. Like starting this podcast, I was like, I know I want to do it, but it also felt like a big hurdle to kind of get over. And if you can make that easy for them, it'll be really exciting.
I have to watch this space, see if I actually can turn it around.
Yeah, well, I love it. And have all the ideas, explore it, see what sticks, see what people really want to buy, and, go from there. What would you say are some of the metrics that you pay attention to in your business, whether financial or operational metrics?
Oh, so I've got very good at this. All the financial metrics, I'd measure everything. Profitability per client. I think that's really important, especially as you're growing a team, because you can hire and hire and hire, but you've got to make sure that actually you've got the funds coming in to pay for those people, because all of a sudden you're managing a team of people and you're responsible for paying them. So you need to make sure that you've got the money in the bank to pay for them. So we work out, my team do toggle reports. They track their time. We keep a track of that, and how much time does it take to deliver all the content per client. Are there some clients that are taking longer than others in terms of the team's hours? Therefore, the profitability goes down. But like, does that mean that there's an issue there? Is that a client that we should continue working with, or is there something I need to explore deeper into that? And are we getting consistency in leads? So when I went full in on this idea of building an agency, probably last autumn or fall, my goal was to bring on 1 or 2 new clients a month. And because my team are, I mean, yes, there's 6 people, but I only brought the second account manager in last month. I didn't want to break my business. So I went for 1 a month, because we wanted to make sure that we had all our processes and systems in order. And I actually hired an amazing operations person who's coming in project-based for me, who has set up the whole onboarding process and system for me, which is just fabulous. It's like so smooth now. But yes, bringing in 1 a month so that we can really give that person or that company the standard that they are expecting from us. And that I'm not overloading my team with, well, hey, we've got 4 new clients starting next month. They'd be like, what? So a kind of a steady growth rather than a rush to grow. Because I want to keep the quality there. And, I really like my clients. I like the people that we're working with. So we've 10 companies at the minute. And I think, keeping that going this year, we could end the year with 15. And then let's get, nice and steady does it with the systems and processes in place. I mean, the sky is the limit. And then I, because my team are so fab and doing what they do, I then get time to go off and do the business development, and I do the workshops, because I really enjoy that, because I love working with a company. I do like a 3-hour workshop, and at the end of it, they go, we just didn't know any about that about LinkedIn, Louise. And I'm like, yes.
And you're like, that's the point.
So I love that. I love, I love delivering training myself. So I'm not sure that's going to change.
Yeah. And that's wonderful. And that's like, as you grow in your business, you can pick the things that you know that you are uniquely suited to do, and then outsource the stuff that you've got great team members. Like, even when I'm growing my business, it's like, there's some times where I'm like, you don't want me as your CFO. Like, I'm actually like, I'm very good at that, but I'm also pulled in like a lot of other things. So there's like, if you want the quality and the consistency of, having somebody be able to respond to your, emails quicker, maybe I'm not the one that you actually want as your lead CFO. So we were bringing on team members who are also incredible at being CFOs, but also that's their full focus is the CFO. Whereas like this, as being the CEO of the company, we are doing the business development, we're doing, the idea generation, we're doing all these like marketing, potentially some sales, like we're being pulled in other directions that, pull you away from being that client delivery person. So bringing on people who are like in charge of the client delivery is super critical. So
I would say, Hannah, with that, there is like a messy middle for sure. Where I felt like I could not get my head above water enough to go out and do the sales and do the stuff that I wanted to do. I start, like, my YouTube channel is, it's a baby channel compared to you. But I love doing my videos and recording.
And they're great.
I'm not getting
Everybody should go check out the YouTube.
Yeah. I'm not getting a chance to do the fun stuff because I'm trying to like help all my new team members, do things in the way that I want. So there is like I don't know what you call it. There's like a really challenging part.
I think that messy middle is a really good terminology for that.
Yeah.
As soon as you said it, I was like, I know exactly what you mean.
Yes. It's like now my initial account manager has been able to help train the new account manager. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing.
Yes. I love that. That's so great. Well, Louise, I know we're up on time. I feel like I could chat with you for forever. It's lovely to chat with you. And thank you for being transparent too about like building your own business, because the people listening to this podcast are also in the same place where they're building their businesses. They're trying to figure out what that next step is. They're trying to get to, a level of financial success, a level of just business success that will, make them feel satisfied in, the direction and why we're entrepreneurs in the first place. So your LinkedIn tips, amazing. So for everybody listening, we'll put all the links to how you can find Louise, how you can find her, follow her on LinkedIn, because she has, I think I saw like close to like 10,000 followers on LinkedIn.
I'm nearly there.
You're so close. I saw it. Well, I checked it last night and I was like, I bet like by the morning, she'll probably be at 10,000. Then your YouTube channel is also really great for actually doing very strategic things on your, looking at your own profile. You show how to do stuff on YouTube, which I think is really valuable. And then also check out the podcast as well. So, Louise, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, I've loved it, Hannah. I could chat to you all day too. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Talk to you later. Thanks for listening to the Financial Clarity Podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes to learn more about today's episode and click subscribe on your favorite podcast app.